students. Today we are going to learn about contrivances to prevent the self-pollination. We have already learnt about the cross-pollination, and we found that in cross-pollination, plants with better quality and better adaptability to the environment have been formed. So mostly the nature favors the cross-pollination than the self-pollination. So here we are going to learn about this bisexual flowers which are going to have special adaptations to just avoid the self-pollination. So the first point is called as the unisexuality. Here mostly the flowers are going to be unisexual. Unisexual means either they are going to have the androecium or they are going to have the gynoecium. So we are going to call them as the staminate flower if they are going to have the androecium only, and we are going to call them as the pistillate flower if they are going to have only the gynoecium. So here, if on the basis of unisexuality, we can divide the plants into two types. One is called as monoecious plants. Mono means one. If in a single plant, both the male flower and female flowers are been born, then we are going to call it as the monoecious plant. Dioecious plant means here we are going to have the male plants and the female plants. So the male and female flowers are going to be born on different plants. So here, because of this, the cross-pollination has been allowed and the self-pollination has been prevented. Second comes your dichogamy. So here the anther and stigma and the bisexual flowers are going to get matured at the different time. That is, if the male and the female gametes are going to be formed at different time, then the fertilization cannot occur here. So here it requires the cross-pollination. So the process is called as the dichogamy, and we are going to have two types of this dichogamy. One is called as protandry, one more is called as your protogyny. As we know, the Greek word protos means first and andros means male. So here we have taken proto and andry. Protos is first and andros is male. If the anthers are going to mature earlier than the stigma, when it is not ready to receive the pollen grains, it is called as your protandry. So in short, you can remember the androecium is going to mature first here, then the stigma, the protogyny. Here the gynoecium is going to mature earlier before the stamen can develop the pollen grains. Before the male gametes are going to get produced, the stigma is going to get matured. So the self-pollination cannot occur here. Next comes heterostyly. So heterostyly means, hetero means different, styly means we are going to talk about the style. That is the second part of this gynoecium. So flowers have different heights of stamens and the styles. So these are also going to occur in the bisexual flower. The filament and the style length are going to vary in the flowers. So depending on this, we are going to have two types of flowers. One is called as diheterostyly, which is otherwise called as dimorphic heterostyly. Other one is called as triheterostyly or trimorphic heterostyly. Let us discuss about the diheterostyly. So here di means two, hetero means different, and styly. So here we are going to have two types of flowers because the style and the filament are going to have different lengths. And the first type is called as pin-eyed flower. Pin-eyed flower are going to have long style, that is longer part of the gynoecium will be there and short part of the filament of the stamen will be there. But the other type is called as thumb-eyed filament. You are going to memorize the short style will be there, that is gynoecium will be having a lower position and the stamens are going to be present above, or the filaments are going to be longer than that of this style. So here next one is your triheterostyly. So here depending on the length of this style, the flowers are going to be divided into three types. One is long style, medium style and the short style. I can show you the pictures of this on this book. See, if we are going to go for the first type, that is your pin-eyed flower. See, this white color parts and these are called as your androeciums and this is the gynoecium part. So the gynoecium part is going to be long, that is this is called as your style. This is stigma, this is style and this is the ovary part of this gynoecium. If the style is going to be longer than that of this filaments of this anther, it is called as your pin-eyed flower. If the reverse is going to occur, the style is going to be shorter and the filaments are going to be taller or the longer, then we are going to call it as your thumb-eyed flower. The other type we learnt is short, medium and the long type of your this trimorphic heterostyle. So here what happens, these are the your styles are short here than the two layers of your stamens. Here also same thing, we are going to have 2 layers of the stamens, but in between medium sized styles have been there, medium sized your gynoecium parts have been available, but here they are the taller one. I am talking about these parts which are called as your gynoecium part. Here the gynoecium part is the shortest, here it is medium, and here it is tallest among as compared to the filament of this anthers. That's why they have been called as your long style, medium style and the short style flowers. Now comes the next type of contrivance, which is called as your hercogamy. So here the bisexual flowers will be there. They are going to have the stigma and the style maturing at the same time, but still certain barriers have been there, which are physical barriers, which are not going to allow the self-pollination. So first is extrose anther. Here the anther is going to remain outside the flower, so the pollen grains cannot fall inside and they are going to be dehisced outside. Flap covering the stigma. So stigma, the upper part of this gynoecium is going to get covered by a flap which will not allow the pollen grains of the same flower to fall on it. Next is corolla forming a pocket around the stamen. So the stamen is the male part which is going to get covered by the corolla and is going to make a pocket so that the stamens are not going to get which are not going to fertilize the female part of this flower. Then comes pollen grains are going to get combined with each other and they are going to form a larger part which is called as your pollinium, and the whole pollinium can be taken by this insects only, so they cannot get separated to fertilize the flowers. Next is flies. We do have a flower which is called as Aristolochia. So what happens inside this, the insects are allowed to enter into the flower, then they are going to get trapped inside. Once the anther part is going to get matured and the pollen grains have been matured or formed, these pollen grains are going to stick to the body of this flies. Then only they have been allowed to come out of this flower, because it's going to, the flower is going to wither and then they are going to allowed to come out. Then they will go for cross pollination only. Labor mechanism is going to occur in certain flowers to shed the pollen grains. So these are the physical barriers which are going to stop or which are going to prevent the self-pollination, and they are going to favor the cross-pollination. Next one is called as prepotency. Prepotency means the pollen grains which are coming from other flowers, they are going to grow faster. That means if the stigma has been there and on it, the from outside one pollen grain will come and is going to fall, and pollen grain from the same flower is going to fall. The one which has come from the other flower is going to grow faster than that of its own one. So this is called as prepotency. Next comes self-sterility or self-incompatibility. So in bisexual flowers, pollen grains of one flower fail to grow on the stigma of the same flower. Here, if from the same flower we are going to get a pollen grain falling on the stigma, it cannot grow the pollen tube when the further fertilization cannot take place. So that is called as the self-sterility. So student, this is a very important question and you are going to memorize all these scientific terms, or these are the key points that you are going to memorize, and this may come as a long question in your board exam. So please prepare well. Thank you.